I love this saying that if you're a bad reader of the greens, you actually have to be a bad putter to make putts. And it sounds crazy, but if you don't know how to read the greens, and if you hit a good putt, you're not going to make that putt if it's that bad. I mean, if you are a bad reader, you would actually use a manipulated stroke, and you'll find many times people can connect those dots and make it.
Yeah. So, and it's basically the law of probability, isn't it? So if you have a bad stroke, you have a bad read, you'll hole more than if you have one or the other. And that sounds very defeatist, but yeah, if you're gonna read it bad, get a really bad stroke. Please get a really bad stroke.
So regarding reading, I have a few people tuning in here live, and I just want you to tell me, out of these two cards here, which card looks larger to you? One is going to appear larger than the other, but now when I keep changing them, one is going to look bigger each time. It's because the cards are exactly the same. So when you see them side by side, and I definitely want to see you all live to show you that in person, because it really jumps out. Your eye immediately looks at one and goes, that card is larger, because you're looking at the curves of the card and comparing them. The golf course is made of tons of curves. So your eyes are constantly calibrating and comparing all these hills to each other to see if, you know, you're trying to sense it out and seeing more break than is actually there. So one thing you can start doing right away, because today my goal is really to give you some quick tips that you can use so that you could start putting better. And one of those tips is I want you to start walking the line of your putt. Just start walking and feeling with your feet and observing that green is not a flat surface. There's undulation on it, and that's there to get the water to run off of the green. So it's been designed that way by the architects, and if they can get the water to run off, your golf ball is also going to be running off those greens as well. So play that break. That's a biggie.
But what you just said there, it makes it sound like everything breaks to the sea or everything breaks to the pond. And that's certainly not the case either, is it? There tends to be more subtle breaks in a green than just.
So that's a good one. Like, that's a myth. That is totally a green reading myth, is everything breaks towards the water, everything breaks towards this mountain, or, you know, any of those myths, or the grain follows the sun.
Well, they're gonna have the event in Scottsdale in a few weeks, and I think the myth is everything breaks to downtown Scottsdale. I think it's saying.
So those are all myths. And when you walk the line of your putt and when you use your feet to read the greens, you're not guessing, you're green reading, okay, and not green guessing. And that's the big thing that I want you to understand, is that you can train your feet, and they're just incredibly accurate.
Yeah, and I think like Aimpoint obviously was the first system that really quantified the breaks and said that you use your feet. But for years, people have said you need to look from different sides. You need to look from the low side. You need to look from behind the hole. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is the process of walking around, you start to get a sense with your feet.
Definitely. Like Tiger Woods, he uses his feet a lot.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite teaching aids. It is a kitchen sink strainer from Home Depot. A lot of this stuff, we just go around Home Depot. If you ever see us wandering the hallways of Home Depot, this is what we're doing. We're finding just really cool teaching aids. This is the same size as a putting hole. So what I would do is I would take this and I'd put it in my bag. So it's just a little, the same size as a hole, and you carry this around in your golf bag. It's really small. And when the course is super busy, as it always gets with shotguns and tournaments, you take out your little sink drain and you throw it onto the green. And now you're able to start practicing your putting. You can see if you're making your putts. But most importantly, this hits the third skill, which is speed. We need to know, even if that ball goes in, what was the pace that ball was going? I'm not going to tell you that one is more important. Speed, aim, read, they're all very important. So what we need to start to do is start practicing speed on its own, practice your reading on its own, and then of course, practice starting that putt online. But this is one thing that I like for speed, is knowing that, okay, it went in, but how far would it have gone past?
And I think sometimes, I think it's getting better, but I've taught a lot of elite players that they've been brought up on doing that like circle drill. You might have seen Phil Mickelson doing it, where you're just banging in 6-footers and you don't realize that you have no control over your pace. And what happens, and I had teaching a very, very good play. He played in the British Open, and he was going to the Tour Championships of the tour underneath the European Tour. And he told me he's been getting unlucky for 10 years. So that was my first thing. He'd either upset somebody.
He's just a one unlucky guy.
He'd either upset somebody up above, or so it's like, why does he feel like he's been unlucky? And it's because I always lip out, he said. I did a test very similar to that. Put down, in that case, I just put down a coin. From 30 feet, he hit the coin 3 times. I found a straight putt. He hit the coin 3 times, but one went like 3 foot by, one went 6 foot by, one went even further by. So can you see, because there's a difference in his pace, when there's a bit of break and you add break into the equation, that difference in pace is enough to keep knocking the ball onto the lips. So he felt that he was really unlucky, whereas the reality is he had great control of the face, hit great putts, but his variable was knocking him onto the lips. So if he'd actually been worse with his stroke, he would have hit less lips, probably would have felt better about himself.
Yeah.
We started doing pace stuff, and he'd never really done it before. It's a learned skill, and he'd been spending too much time whacking in lots of putts. You'd imagine on the practice area, if you've got a great stroke like he had, he's going to hole lots of putts. You get out into competition play, a little bit longer distances, you're hitting lips, and you feel real bad.
And I don't think people realize that when you get the lip out effect on the putt, it's really, even though it looks like it would have gone in, you've actually realistically like shrunk the capture size of the hole. So the hole is 4 1/4 across, but you've actually made it at that point, like even in this case, like even smaller. So if your ball goes 3 feet past the hole, then it shrinks to the size of a poker chip. If it goes 5 feet past the hole becomes the size of a dime. So that's how accurate you have to hit your putt. And if you go 8 feet past the hole actually doesn't even exist at that point.
No, true. And I think there's a little misconception because of Mr. Woods, because Tiger hits his putts really hard. And it's because he actually has lots of face rotation. He almost needs to hit them hard to square the face. Tiger is so precise. He hits that little dime that Megan's talking about. It's when we're watching him, it's meant there's a correlation where, well, if you're confident, you hit your putts hard. And I think that actually isn't the best way to hold putts. Sometimes it's actually trusting your stroke, trusting the pace. And Tiger, if you're going to be really, really accurate, that's the way to do it. Would I try and change Tiger? Not at all. And he wouldn't listen to me anyway. But if we try and copy him, and Tiger can sometimes produce results that are better than a robot. So you put him up against a robot, he can actually be as precise, if not better. So if you don't have that level of precision, actually trusting the pace is going to make you hole more putts, rather than just going, I'm going to be confident, I'm going to hit it hard.
Yeah. And you can still hit at the right speed and be confident. That definitely can happen.
No, but the right speed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Tiger is hitting it 3, 4.
No, but the average person is thinking that, oh, that's a confident stroke that person's using. That aggressive stroke is confident. Having really good speed, you could still be super confident when you see that ball rolling in all the time. So just to kind of wrap this part up before I let Steve go into this next section, is I want to give you 3 ways that you can practice the 3 different skills. Use just the string line. So like I said, you can buy them online. There's the 2 knitting needles and elastic string that I use. I'm actually really excited. I have a new one coming. The coach of Tiger Woods and a bunch of tour players. His name's Matt Killen, but he just came up with an elevated string line that he created that I just bought for both of us. And it's cool because it's one that instead of having to go like this, as I was just fighting to do this earlier, it goes into something that it's called the raindrop, by the way. And when you put it in, it doesn't get all tangled up like mine always do. So that's a big reason why people end up not using their strings, is like this. Like I can't like undo it, where this one actually just comes right out. It's pretty, I'm going to be pretty professional with it.
So if you were wondering, can Megan knit? No.
Okay, so back to your 3 drills. Now that I'm going to have my super cool string line, it's understanding, one, put it on your intended line. Where do you think the putt's breaking? And it's called your aim point. So I'm going to pick my aim point, put the knitting needles down, put it back to my ball, and then I'm going to just hit my putt down that string line. That's number one, going to help me work on my read. I think that's going to be an eye opener for a lot of people. In fact, I want you to maybe try it with your eyes closed, because that's going to actually let you do it down the line. It will literally open your eyes up to the fact that maybe you've underread your putts. For speed, you're going to put the same string line down like this across the green, and you're just going to putt and see, out of like maybe 10 balls, how close can you get them to the string? What this does is it eliminates having to read the green, and it eliminates aim and start direction completely. This is just the task of, can I hit 10 balls as close as I can to the line? Simply working on speed.
You can use tees for that one as well if you don't have these. Just basically trying to get it to finish in the same place.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these you can just use tees as well. And then the last one is start line. So you just put the string down and you just get yourself to start hitting it. It needs to start on the line. If you happen to put the string down on an area with break, it's going to come off of the line. But I mean, if you don't have the line, putting down a ruler, it's like a yardstick. You put down a ruler and you start hitting a ball down that, you'll see it will come off the line if you're not starting your ball on line. But those are just a few quick tips on things that you can start doing so that you can practice more efficiently. I see a lot of people going out to practice on the putting green, and it's like, you're not maybe necessarily getting better, or I can assure you it's taking you a lot longer. I mean, Mr. Adams, he's one of the people on the call here. He is one of the most efficient practicers at the club. Every time he's going out, he has a purpose. He's just working on specific things. Break yours down into these categories: speed, read, and starting it online, and you'll be saving a lot of strokes yourself. So Steve, lead us off into the next part.
So we are going to talk about putters and putter fittings, kind of a little bit of myths, but not try to be too controversial.
Is it the Indian or is it the arrow?
So
what is it? Many times it is actually the putter. I'm a big believer in.
So I actually believe, and this isn't how the industry is designed, nor is it how it is actually happening. But I think putter fittings are more important than driver fittings. And that's coming from somebody that specializes in driver.
Yeah, that is true.
And I think it's because of the precise nature of putting. You can alter, especially with like the manner in which you align, you can really change that by the shape of the putter, by the hosel that you have. The hosel changes how you line up, the amount of lines. Neither of us have got lines on our putters. We're not particularly good at using them. Other people might like a lot of lines. Like I fit my dad for a putter, and he needed quite a few lines. We've got neither. So the lie angle and the length, again, really important. But what you'll notice I haven't mentioned is face balanced, toe hang, or the other one, which a lot of people don't know about, is torque balance. And I have a device, and I've realized how I don't have that much space. So bear with me. If this goes horribly wrong.
This is going to be very entertaining to watch Steve try to do this, but
if this goes horribly wrong, blame Megan. She should have stopped me from trying. So I have this thing.
Oh gosh.
It's called the
Wish me luck, everyone.
It's called the explainer. And I've got a face balance putter in here. And the concept of face balance is it should kind of track with your stroke. So you, in theory, won't have any twisting. So they'll say like a straight back, straight through putt style should have this putter. But when I've got it in this thing, think about if I lift it up and down, can you see that putter isn't twisting? It's really stable. This is where it could go wrong. Bear with, Megan. Bear with. So here we go. When I start moving from side to side, can you see it starts twisting around?
Yes. Sorry. Yes, we all can see that.
So it's twisting around. So it stays stable when it's on this line, when it goes up and down. Yeah. And that's not how we putt.
Yeah, we putt on an incline.
We putt on an incline. And so in the direction, this is actually the direction in which it would be going in the putt. And you see it starts to twist. So if you're trying to break, if you're trying to break stuff, throw things around your house. If you're trying to create a stroke that is straight back, straight through, or more importantly, you don't feel like you're using your hands that much, you would need a putter like this. This is the one that we use, or I use, torque balance. So can you see that one points up? I'm not going to connect it to it. I'm not going to push my luck. But basically this putter, when it's moving down this way, it stays far more stable. I bring that up to challenge the concept of how it changes it, rather than say you have to use a certain putter. Because the putter I'm using, torque balance, you use a torque balance one as well. It's of the three categories, it's probably hardly any companies make them. So there's a ton of putters on tour, especially, that aren't torque balanced and people are still putting well. I think it's more about how you interact with the putter. So the lines, the shape, the hosels, I think that's more can really help with your alignment. It can really help with your confidence. Don't be put off from having one putter versus another because you've been told it's not right for you. Like the putter Tiger uses, which is a toe hang. The concept of a toe hang is it helps you release. But a toe hang, that means there's weight more in the toe. If you're fitting a driver and you want someone drawing it, you put all of the weight in the heel because it makes the toe lighter, so it makes the thing flip. So there's lots of stuff in golf, and in putting is a great example. Because we've always been told it's a certain way, it's not challenged. Whereas you actually start thinking about it, you go, well, one has to be right, one has to be wrong. So people usually use a toe hang to try and get the putter releasing. You might not release it. It might not actually help you release it. The other thing with putting, and I don't want to go too deep with this, is we got two hands. So if I think about a steering wheel, if I'm pushing in the same direction, so if I'm pointing in this way, I'm going to get no movement in the steering wheel. If both go this way, it will go left. I don't want to go too deep in how to use a steering wheel, but basically the hands are always interacting.
Yeah.
So some people will do really well with a putter because although the putter wants to open, your hands fight it a little bit. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it actually balances out the stroke. So try to get fit, try to get the right head shape and lines and hosels and lies and lengths.
Okay, so for a lot of you, I know you're thinking like toe hang and torque balance and a lot of things like I don't get it. It's basically, to break it down, putters need to fit you. There's a reason why I've had like people show up with 30 putters, no joke, 30 putters, and we've gone through each one and ended up finding out that one of the 30 fit. There's a reason why you might have a whole garage full of putters. It's because you're trying to just pick up a random putter and make it work when there's millions of different aspects to a putter, which Steve has mentioned, some of those ones that you may have not even thought about. You need to make sure that the putter fits you and that's why it might work for someone else, but not for you. Save yourself some money and maybe sell some of those old putters by just getting yourself the right putter. And, you know, I mean, we could go like, we could do a whole session on putters because the length of a putter itself is standard in our industry is 35 inches long. And that's not because it fits anybody, it's because it fits your golf bag. So the length of the golf bag is 35 inches long. So if you're just buying it because it that's what the standard is in the industry, I mean, that's, thank goodness there's so many great putting coaches out there now that are changing this and getting the word out there. But the putter has to fit you. That arrow has to work with the Indian, and I'm just not sure. I think we can blame it a little bit more than we are. I think
No, I do.
I think that the answer sometimes is it is the putter. It's not your fault.